Andrew stormed out of his office, his heart filled with frustration. His girlfriend had said something that really hurt him, and he couldn't shake off the anger. The more he thought about it, the more upset he became. He walked through the streets, trying to clear his head, but nothing seemed to help. Feeling hungry, Andrew spotted a small restaurant and decided to stop by. He ordered a meal, hoping it would help him calm down. But as he sat at the table, staring at his food, he found he wasn't really hungry. He took a few bites, but his mind kept going back to the argument with his girlfriend. Why couldn't she understand him? Why did she always have to make things so difficult? He finished eating, but there was still some food left on his plate. Distracted by his thoughts, Andrew got up and left the restaurant, forgetting his wallet on the table. His mind was too preoccupied to notice. Not long after he left, a homeless girl named Amanda walked into the restaurant. She hadn't eaten in days, and the sight of the leftover food caught her attention. She was very hungry, and she could barely think of anything else. The smell of the food was too tempting. Amanda looked around and saw that no one was paying attention. She quietly walked over to the table and sat down, her eyes fixed on the plate of food. She knew she shouldn't be doing this, but she was desperate. She reached for the food and started eating, hoping no one would see her. Just as she took a bite, Andrew came back into the restaurant. He had realized he had left his wallet and returned to get it. When Andrew saw Amanda sitting at his table, eating his food, he was angry. Without thinking, he shouted at her, "What are you doing? Are you stealing my food?" Amanda was startled. She hadn't expected anyone to come back. She looked up at Andrew, her eyes wide with fear. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean to steal. I was just so hungry." Andrew didn't listen. His anger was too strong and he couldn't see beyond it. "That's no excuse. You can't just take what doesn't belong to you." "I haven't eaten in days," Amanda tried to explain. "I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I just needed something to eat." But Andrew wasn't interested in hearing her reasons. All he saw was someone taking his food without permission. He couldn't understand how someone could be so desperate. He told her to leave, his voice cold and harsh. Amanda stood up, tears filling her eyes. She apologized again, but Andrew didn't respond. He watched her walk out of the restaurant, feeling nothing but anger at the situation. After she left, Andrew sat back down at the table. He picked up his wallet, but something didn't feel right. As he thought about what had just happened, a small part of him started to feel guilty. Maybe he had overreacted. Maybe he should have listened to her. But Andrew was too proud to admit he might have been wrong. He tried to push the thought away, but the image of Amanda's face stayed in his mind. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't forget the look in her eyes when she told him she was hungry. When Andrew got home, he was still frustrated. His girlfriend's words kept echoing in his mind. He picked up his phone and called her, thinking that maybe she had calmed down and they could sort things out. They were supposed to attend a big party together the next day, and he didn't want any drama. The moment she answered, her tone was sharp. She wasn't interested in talking about the party or plans. Instead, she made a demand. She wanted a large sum of money if she was going to attend the event with him. Andrew was shocked. He had been generous with her before, always making sure she had everything she needed. But now, demanding money just to go to a party felt wrong. He asked why she needed the money, but she didn't give a real reason. She only repeated her demand and hung up the call. Frustration built up inside him. He wasn't going to give in. There was no way he would pay just to have her by his side at a party. But now he had another problem. He couldn't show up alone. It wasn't the kind of event where you arrived without a partner. He needed someone with him, and he needed to figure it out quickly. Sitting in his living room, an idea popped into his head. Amanda, the homeless girl. She may not have much, but he remembered how beautiful she was. Even with the dirt and struggle of living on the streets, her beauty shone through. If she could clean up a bit, she could easily be his date for the party. The idea seemed crazy at first, but the more he thought about it, the more it made sense. The next morning, Andrew got dressed and headed out, determined to find Amanda. He wasn't sure if she would still be in the same place, but he had to try. He searched for a while, scanning the streets where he had last seen her. Eventually, he spotted her sitting at the corner where she often begged for money. Her face was tired, her clothes worn from life on the streets. but she was still there. As Andrew approached, Amanda noticed him. Her expression changed immediately. She looked angry, clearly remembering their last encounter. Her eyes narrowed as he got closer. There was no smile, no welcome. She didn't want to see him again after how he had treated her. Andrew stood in front of her, knowing this wasn't going to be easy. He quickly apologized for the way he acted before, trying to explain that he had been upset and didn't handle the situation well. Amanda didn't care for his apology. Her eyes were still cold, filled with distrust. She asked him why he was there, clearly expecting nothing good. Andrew took a breath and told her everything. He explained that his girlfriend had refused to go to the party with him, and now he needed someone else to go. He mentioned how beautiful Amanda was and said that with a bit of preparation, she would be perfect for the event. The idea seemed ridiculous to Amanda. She laughed at him, shaking her head. She couldn't believe he would even ask her, after how he had yelled at her the other day. The idea of a homeless girl attending a fancy party seemed absurd. At first, Amanda refused flat out. She wasn't interested in helping him, and she certainly didn't trust him after their last meeting. Andrew could see he wasn't getting through to her, so he tried another approach. He told her he was willing to pay. He mentioned the amount, a sum so large that it made Amanda stop for a moment. She hadn't expected that. The money he was offering was more than she had ever dreamed of having. It would change her situation, at least for a while. Still, she hesitated. The thought of going to a party with someone like Andrew, who had treated her so poorly, didn't sit well with her. She didn't trust him, and she didn't want to feel like she owed him anything. But the money was too much to ignore. It could get her off the streets, at least for a few days. It could buy her food, maybe even a place to stay for a little while. After a long pause, Amanda finally agreed. She made it clear that she was only doing it for the money. This wasn't about helping Andrew or being his date. It was business, nothing more. Andrew nodded, relieved that she had agreed. The plan was in motion, and now all they had to do was get ready for the party. Amanda stood in front of the mirror, amazed at her transformation. The dress Andrew had bought for her was elegant, something she had never imagined wearing. Her hair had been done up neatly, and her face looked radiant after a proper wash and some makeup. She hardly recognized herself. When Andrew arrived to pick her up, he froze the moment he saw her. For a moment he didn't say anything, just staring at her in disbelief. She looked stunning, more beautiful than he had even imagined. They arrived at the party, and as soon as they walked in, all eyes were on them. People whispered as Amanda passed by, unable to believe that someone so gorgeous could have come with Andrew. Amanda, feeling the attention, held her head high. She wasn't used to such events, but she walked confidently, knowing she looked the part. Throughout the night, guests kept approaching Andrew to ask who his stunning date was. He smiled, keeping the truth to himself, simply introducing her as Amanda. Amanda remained calm, polite, and charming, even though inside she still couldn't believe she was at a fancy party with people who seemed to have everything. The party ended, and as they walked out, Andrew turned to Amanda, thankful for how smoothly the night had gone. He knew that without her, it would have been a disaster. He pulled out the money he had promised her, a large sum, and handed it to her. Amanda accepted the payment, knowing it was more than she had ever had before. She thanked him and walked away. Andrew returned home, relieved the night was over. But as soon as he stepped through the door, his father was waiting for him. His father was an old-fashioned man, strict when it came to family matters. Without wasting any time, his father told him he needed to find a woman to marry. He made it clear that until Andrew brought a woman home, he wouldn't hand over the family company to him. It was the condition he had set for Andrew's inheritance. Andrew was stunned. He had never expected his father to place such a demand on him. He knew that his father was serious and that without a wife he wouldn't get the company. But where would he find someone to marry so quickly? His mind raced, and then suddenly Amanda's face came to mind. Without wasting any time, Andrew picked up his phone and called Amanda. She was surprised to hear from him so soon, thinking their arrangement was over. He quickly explained the situation. He needed her to pose as his fiancée, at least for a while. He offered her even more money than before, promising that she would be well taken care of. On top of that, he would rent an apartment for her so she wouldn't have to live on the streets anymore. Amanda was quiet for a moment, thinking about his offer. It was tempting. She had just started to enjoy the idea of having money in her hands, and now Andrew was offering even more. The thought of a place to live, no longer having to beg for food, was too good to turn down. She agreed to help him again. With their new deal in place, Amanda prepared herself for the next step. Andrew made sure she had everything she needed, from the rented apartment to the money she would be paid. All Amanda had to do was show up and play her role. Days passed, and soon it was time for Andrew to introduce Amanda to his family. The weight of the situation hung heavy on his shoulders. If his father didn't believe the relationship, he could lose everything: the company, his position, his future. But he felt confident that Amanda would do her part. Amanda, now living in a comfortable apartment, prepared herself carefully for the meeting. She knew how important this was for Andrew, but she also knew it was her chance to escape the streets for good. The money he promised could change her life forever. Andrew arrived to pick her up, and once again, he couldn't help but be amazed by her transformation. She looked even more stunning than before, this time more confident in her new life. Together they headed to Andrew's family home, knowing that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in their strange partnership. Andrew and Amanda arrived at the grand family estate. The house was imposing, with tall pillars and a manicured garden that stretched far beyond the gates. Andrew glanced at Amanda, unsure of how she was feeling. But as soon as they stepped out of the car, Amanda straightened her posture and put on the confident smile she had practiced. The moment they walked into the house, Andrew's father stood waiting in the grand living room. His eyes were sharp, sizing up Amanda immediately. He had been skeptical when Andrew mentioned that he was bringing someone home, but now that the moment had come, he was curious to see who this mysterious woman was. Amanda stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. She greeted Andrew's father politely, her voice calm and poised. She spoke with just the right balance of confidence and humility, complimenting the home and expressing how honored she was to meet the family. Every word was carefully chosen, every gesture perfectly controlled. Andrew's father watched her closely, but as Amanda continued speaking, his skeptical expression softened. He listened intently as she answered his questions with intelligence and grace. Amanda spoke about her background, carefully crafting a story that matched what Andrew had told her. She didn't try too hard to impress, but her natural charm was undeniable. Before long, Andrew's father was captivated. The way Amanda carried herself, the way she spoke, it all seemed genuine. He had expected someone shallow or materialistic, but instead he found a woman who seemed thoughtful and kind. He was impressed, something Andrew hadn't seen in his father in a long time. By the end of the evening, Andrew's father was completely won over. He even pulled Andrew aside at one point, quietly telling him that Amanda was exactly the kind of woman he had always hoped his son would marry. He praised her intelligence, her beauty, and most of all, her composure. Andrew was relieved, though a bit surprised by how quickly things had turned in their favor. His father, who was often difficult to please, had fallen for Amanda almost immediately. The pressure of the evening had lifted, and everything seemed to be going according to plan. Amanda played her role perfectly throughout the night. She laughed at the right moments, complimented Andrew's mother, and even shared a few stories that made Andrew's father laugh, a rare sound in the household. By the time they were ready to leave, it was clear that Amanda had left a lasting impression. As they drove away from the estate, Andrew couldn't help but glance at Amanda in the passenger seat. She had delivered far beyond what he had expected, and for the first time, he realized that she wasn't just some homeless girl playing a part. There was something deeper about her, something he hadn't seen before. When they arrived at Amanda's apartment, Andrew felt a need to clear the air. He looked at her seriously, thanking her for her help. He admitted she had played her role perfectly, and he couldn't have asked for more. But then, with a deep breath, he told her something she needed to hear. Though he appreciated her, he didn't love her. He was grateful for what she had done for him and his family, but there were no feelings between them. He wanted her to know that nothing romantic would come out of their arrangement. It was all just business. Amanda was unbothered. She told him she didn't care. Love wasn't why she was doing this, as long as he kept paying her. That was all that mattered. She wasn't interested in romance, just the money. She had no feelings for him either, and she made that clear. For her, this was a temporary way to get out of the streets and nothing more. Andrew nodded, feeling relieved that they were on the same page. He had been worried that things might get complicated, but Amanda's calmness reassured him. They said their goodbyes, and Amanda went inside her apartment while Andrew drove home. A few days later, Andrew's father called him. He wanted Amanda to spend the weekend at the family house. His father had grown fond of her, even more than Andrew had expected. Amanda had charmed him completely, and now he wanted to get to know her better. Andrew felt a knot in his stomach, knowing that keeping this act up was becoming more complicated. But he had no choice. His father's approval was everything. When Andrew told Amanda about the invitation, she agreed without hesitation. More money and more time in a comfortable house were good enough reasons for her. She packed a small bag and made sure to look her best when Andrew picked her up. As they arrived at the family estate, Andrew's father greeted Amanda with open arms. He was clearly thrilled to see her again, treating her like she was already part of the family. He showered her with compliments, telling her how much he admired her grace and intelligence. Amanda smiled politely, keeping up the act. It was all going according to plan, and she was playing her part perfectly. But Andrew's mother wasn't so easily convinced. From the moment Amanda stepped through the door, his mother's eyes followed her, watching every move. She was suspicious, though she couldn't explain why. Something about Amanda didn't sit right with her. She felt like she had seen Amanda before, but she couldn't place where. And beyond that, she didn't believe the story Andrew had told them about how they met. It all felt too rushed, too convenient. As the weekend went on, Andrew's father only grew more attached to Amanda. He loved how well she spoke, how kind she was to everyone, and how she seemed to understand the family so well. He would pull Andrew aside, praising Amanda and telling him how lucky he was to have found such a wonderful woman. Andrew forced a smile each time, knowing the truth but unable to say anything. Amanda, meanwhile, did her best to blend in. She talked with Andrew's father, laughed at his jokes, and charmed the other guests who visited during the weekend. But every time she looked over at Andrew's mother, she could feel the coldness in her stare. The tension was undeniable. Later that night, when they were alone, Amanda brought it up to Andrew. She told him she didn't think his mother liked her. There was something in the way she looked at her, something off. Andrew sighed, knowing his mother well. He assured Amanda not to worry. His mother could be difficult sometimes, but this was all just temporary. They only had to keep up the act for a little longer, and once the company was his, everything would be fine. He promised Amanda that he would find a perfect solution soon. Amanda nodded, but she wasn't fully convinced. She knew Andrew's mother was no fool. If she kept digging, it wouldn't be long before she uncovered the truth. But for now, she would stick to the plan. The money was too good to walk away from, and she had already come too far. The weekend ended with Andrew's father more convinced than ever that Amanda was the right woman for his son. He even began talking about wedding plans, telling Andrew that he couldn't wait to see them married and start a family. Andrew, trapped by his own lies, could only smile and nod, knowing he was running out of time to come up with a better solution. As they drove back to Amanda's apartment, the weight of the situation began to press on Andrew. He knew he couldn't keep this up forever. His father was expecting a marriage, his mother was growing more suspicious, and Amanda, though playing her part, wasn't someone he could truly rely on for the long term. He needed to figure out what to do before everything spirals out of control. Amanda, on the other hand, was already counting the money in her head, wondering just how much more she could get out of this arrangement before it all came crashing down. Monica, Andrew's girlfriend, had grown suspicious of Andrew over the past few weeks. He had been distant, not answering her calls like before, and his excuses for missing their usual dates were getting more ridiculous. She knew something was off. After hearing that Andrew had been spending time with Amanda, she decided to investigate. It didn't take long for her to find out that Amanda was the same homeless girl Andrew had shouted at in the street weeks earlier. The pieces of the puzzle began to come together, and Monica realized that Andrew and Amanda had planned the whole thing. Angry and feeling betrayed, Monica went straight to Amanda's apartment. She knocked on the door, and when Amanda opened it, she was met with Monica's fury. Without holding back, Monica told Amanda to leave Andrew alone. She claimed that Andrew was her boyfriend, not Amanda's, and that Amanda had no right to be with him. Amanda didn't flinch. Instead, she looked at Monica with a smirk, as if she found the whole situation amusing. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, and listened to Monica's rant. When Monica finished, Amanda simply shrugged and told her that she wasn't going anywhere. She insulted Monica, calling her desperate and pathetic for clinging to a man who clearly wasn't interested in her anymore. Amanda reminded Monica that she was the one Andrew had chosen to bring home, not her. Monica, embarrassed and humiliated, had no choice but to leave. She had come expecting to scare Amanda away, but instead she left feeling defeated. However, she wasn't ready to give up. As soon as she got home, she came up with a new plan. If she couldn't get rid of Amanda directly, she would use Andrew's mother to do the job. The next morning, Monica called Andrew's mother. She told her everything. How Andrew and Amanda had lied about their relationship, how Amanda was really a homeless orphan, and how the entire thing had been a plan to win over Andrew's father. She emphasized that Amanda was from a poor background, a fact she knew would upset Andrew's mother more than anything else. When Andrew's mother heard the news, she was furious. The thought of her son marrying someone from such a background disgusted her. She had always believed that Andrew should marry someone from a wealthy family, someone who came from the same high social standing as theirs. Poor people, in her eyes, were beneath them. She felt they could never understand the life her family lived, and she certainly didn't want her son to be tied to someone like Amanda. Her mind raced with anger and disappointment. How could Andrew have lied to them all? And how could he even consider marrying a girl from the streets? The more she thought about it, the more her anger grew. She had never liked Amanda from the start, sensing that something was off. Now, with this new information, her suspicions were confirmed. Andrew's mother sat in her luxurious living room, gripping the phone tightly as Monica continued to spill details about Amanda's past. By the end of the conversation, she had made up her mind. She was not going to let her son marry a poor girl like Amanda, no matter what. To her, this wasn't just about love or feelings, it was about protecting the family's status and legacy. Monica hung up the phone, feeling satisfied. She knew Andrew's mother would handle Amanda from here. In her mind, it was only a matter of time before Amanda was out of the picture, and Andrew would come back to her where he belonged. Meanwhile, Andrew's mother wasted no time. She began plotting how to confront her son and expose the truth about Amanda to the rest of the family. In her eyes, Andrew's decision to be with Amanda was nothing more than a foolish mistake, and she was determined to correct it. The idea of her son being tied to a poor orphan was unbearable. Andrew was sitting in his office when his mother barged in, her face full of anger. She didn't waste any time. She confronted him about Amanda. The moment she started speaking, Andrew knew Monica had told her everything. His mother was furious. She demanded to know why he had lied to the family and how he could even think about marrying a homeless orphan. Andrew, realizing he was caught, quickly stood up and tried to calm her down. He begged her not to tell his father about any of this. He explained that it was all just a plan, something he had come up with to get his father's approval. He assured her that he didn't have any real feelings for Amanda and that once the company was handed over to him, Amanda would be gone. He promised it was just an act to fool his father, nothing more. But his mother wasn't convinced. She told him that she didn't believe him. She had seen the way he looked at Amanda. She had noticed how much time they were spending together, how his eyes softened when she was around. There was no way this was just an act. His mother was sure that he had feelings for Amanda, even if he didn't want to admit it. Andrew tried to deny it, but his mother shook her head. She was too smart for that. She reminded him of how much the family had invested in his future. She didn't raise him to marry someone from the streets, someone without family, money, or status. She wasn't about to let all their hard work go to waste because of some girl. His father would never agree to this once he found out the truth. Andrew sighed, feeling trapped. He knew his mother wouldn't let this go easily. But he also knew that Amanda wasn't someone he could simply get rid of right now. She was a key part of his plan, and if his father found out the truth, everything would fall apart. As his mother left the room, Andrew sat down, his mind racing. He needed to figure out what to do before things got out of hand. The plan had worked so far, but now it was starting to unravel. When Andrew's mother got home, her anger was written all over her face. She stormed into the living room, where Andrew's father was sitting, reading the newspaper. Without waiting, she told him everything. About Amanda's past, how Andrew had lied to the family, and how he had deceived them into thinking he was in a serious relationship with her. She expected her husband to be just as furious, maybe even more. But to her surprise, he simply put down the paper, looked at her, and calmly replied that he didn't mind. Andrew's mother blinked in disbelief. She couldn't understand how her husband could be so calm about the situation. He explained that he had already grown fond of Amanda. He didn't care about her being poor. In fact, he liked Amanda's humble background. What truly mattered to him was that she was a kind and respectful young woman. The only thing that disappointed him was Andrew's dishonesty. He was upset that Andrew had lied about his relationship with Amanda, pretending it was something more serious than it really was. Apart from that, he had no issue with Amanda at all. Andrew's mother stood there speechless. She had expected her husband to share her anger, but instead, he was perfectly fine with everything. After a moment, she sat down, trying to process what he had said. Andrew's father picked up the phone and called Andrew, asking him to come over. When Andrew arrived, he looked tense, knowing this was likely about Amanda. He sat down in front of his parents, ready for what was to come. But to his surprise, his father spoke calmly. He admitted that he was hurt by the lie, but he wanted to know the truth now. Andrew hesitated for a moment, then he confessed. He told them that at first, he hadn't liked Amanda. The whole thing had been part of his plan to win his father's approval and secure the company. But over time, something changed. The more time he spent with Amanda, the more he realized how special she was. He had been afraid to admit it, but now he was in love with her. He didn't know how to tell her, especially after everything that had happened. His father smiled and told Andrew that he should go ahead and tell Amanda how he truly felt. He reminded Andrew that sometimes the most unexpected people could change your life. His father encouraged him to take the chance, saying that Amanda might feel the same way. Andrew was surprised by his father's support and decided to follow his advice. The next day, Andrew went to see Amanda. His heart was racing as he approached her apartment. He wasn't sure how she would react, but he knew he couldn't hide his feelings any longer. When Amanda opened the door, Andrew felt nervous. He sat down and, after taking a deep breath, told her everything. He explained how he had fallen in love with her, how he didn't expect it, and how much she meant to him now. Amanda listened quietly, and when Andrew finished, she smiled. To his surprise, she told him that she had loved him too, from the day they went to the party together. She had been waiting for him to say something, but didn't want to push him. Hearing her say that filled Andrew with joy. Right then and there, Andrew proposed to Amanda, and without hesitation, she accepted. They both felt a wave of happiness wash over them, knowing that their love was real. Meanwhile, Monica was still determined to ruin things for Andrew and Amanda. When she heard about Andrew's proposal, she couldn't believe it. Furious, she went to see Andrew's mother again, hoping to turn her against Amanda one last time. Monica ranted about how Amanda wasn't good enough for Andrew, how she was just a poor orphan who didn't belong in their family. But this time Andrew's mother wasn't moved by her words. Instead, she looked Monica in the eye and told her that she wanted the best for her son. And right now, the best thing for Andrew was Amanda. She had seen how happy Amanda made Andrew, how his face lit up when she was around. Amanda had won her over, and now she was fully supportive of their relationship. Monica, stunned and humiliated, had no choice but to leave. A week later, unable to bear the shame of losing Andrew and her failed attempts to destroy his happiness, Monica packed her bags and left the country. She couldn't handle the embarrassment of being replaced by Amanda, someone she thought was far beneath her. Monica boarded a plane and left for Europe, where she hoped to start over, but deep inside she was filled with regret. She had tried everything to win Andrew back, but nothing had worked. Now she was forced to accept defeat, leaving in disgrace. With Monica gone, Andrew and Amanda's life became more peaceful. The tension that had surrounded their relationship slowly faded. 2 months later, after much planning and preparation, Andrew and Amanda stood before their family and close friends as they exchanged vows. The wedding was a beautiful, intimate ceremony held in the family's estate. Amanda, wearing a simple yet elegant white dress, looked radiant. Andrew couldn't take his eyes off her the entire time, still amazed by how far they had come. The man who once saw Amanda as just part of his plan was now standing beside her, deeply in love. As they exchanged their vows, Amanda's heart swelled with emotion. She had never imagined her life would take this turn. From being homeless on the streets to standing in front of Andrew, surrounded by love and acceptance, it all felt like a dream. Andrew, too, was overwhelmed by how much he had changed. He never thought he would fall in love with someone so different from what he had envisioned. Yet Amanda had become everything he didn't know he needed. After the ceremony, as they danced under the twinkling lights, Andrew's father raised a toast. He praised Amanda for her grace and resilience and welcomed her into the family wholeheartedly. His speech touched everyone, even bringing a tear to Andrew's mother's eye. Despite her earlier reservations, she had come to see Amanda's true worth. She was no longer concerned with Amanda's past or her background. What mattered now was the future they were all building together. As the night wore on, Andrew and Amanda found a quiet moment alone. Sitting together, watching the stars, Andrew took her hand and smiled. He told her how much he appreciated her, how grateful he was that she had entered his life. Amanda smiled back, her heart full. She told him that no matter what, she would always be there for him, just as he had been for her. They both knew they had faced challenges, but they were stronger for it. In the weeks that followed, Andrew's father officially handed over the company to him. With Amanda by his side, Andrew felt ready to take on the responsibility. Together, they started making plans for the future, both for their business and their personal lives. Amanda, who had once struggled just to survive, was now helping Andrew with his work, bringing her own insights and ideas. She became more than just his wife, she was his partner in every sense of the word. Dear viewers, what lessons did you take away from this dramatic tale? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, share it with friends, and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks for watching and stay blessed.